gentlemen. On our platform today is John Tani Obaro, the Managing Director, CEO of System Specs. As you are already aware, Experience Annex is a platform for role models. The essence of Experience Annex is for our role models to share their wisdom with the world. And we are very excited to have John today on our platform. John is the MD of System Specs, as I said, and System Specs has become a leader in the Nigerian e-payment space with Remita solution, which enables efficient and easy payments and collection of funds for individuals and corporate organizations, both public and private, on a single interbank platform. Remita is currently the CBN, like Central Bank of Nigeria, adopted payment gateway for the facilitation of federal government's Treasury Single Account project. Remita processes about $6 billion worth of transactions on a monthly basis. So we are very excited to have you. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Thanks very much, Paul. Like you mentioned, I run an organization called System Specs, and I guess I've been at this now for the past 24 years. Before then, I had my background in the banking industry, the IT department of major banks such as UBA and then International Merchant Bank, INB. I was in the banking industry for about 10 years before setting out to start off System Specs. In System Specs, we run an international software called Sun Systems. We've done that, like I said, for about 24 years now. We also have Human Manager, which is a payroll and human resource management, which many people know us with. And then, of course, Remita, which has been a fun and exciting platform for the last 10 going on 11 years. So yes, Remita has become a flagship product, and that's what we've been doing for the past 10, 11 years.
Share a little bit about your background, maybe your university, were you educated here in Nigeria, were you educated somewhere in England or somewhere in the US?
I went to Obaro University, Zaria, where I studied computer sciences, and then I also attended the University of Lagos for my master's in business administration, and I attended the Lagos Business School for the chief executive programs. Then, of course, a number of courses in and outside the country, but in terms of my university graduate degree programs, that was mainly in Nigeria. So we proudly made in Nigeria product.
With John today is Mr. Lanre Adelawa, who is the team lead, brands and marketing for System Specs.
For System Specs.
For System Specs. Lanre, we'll be talking about Remita, but let's start with your MD.
Payment and collection platform. Trying to summarize it. It started out as an extension of our payroll application, trying to make payment into accounts. So we want to remit funds into beneficiaries' accounts, either commercial banks or microfinance banks. So yes, you can use it to make payments of salaries, or you can make payments to family and friends, you can make payment to vendors and contractors, you can make payments to just about anybody on an electronic platform. You can also use Remita to collect, to receive funds into your own account in a structured format. So you can, for instance, use Remita to enforce the kind of information you want people to provide each time they're making payments to you. So if somebody is going to make payments to you, for instance, as an organization, you want to know the type of goods it's paying for, the quantity, the color, the specification, or if he's paying for to settle an invoice, you want to know the invoice number. Whatever type of information you typically would want people to provide, Remita allows you to enforce that before they make payments through any channel that is convenient for them. When I say channel convenient for them, they might have to walk into any bank in Nigeria, a commercial bank, or an increasing number of microfinance banks. Okay, they just walk in there, make these payments, the funds get to you, or they use their debit or credit cards, or they use their mobile phones. Whatever means is convenient for them. They make this payment, it comes into your account, you are able to look at one comprehensive report across all these channels and have a proper analysis of what has come to you. So that's a brief summary of what Remita is.
Right. Remita can be used by government and by private businesses.
And
so Paul Uduk can use Remita?
Very much so. Okay. Now, yes, in terms of a market push, it would appear that the focus has been on corporate organizations. So you have, yes, governments, federal, state, different arms of government, different local governments, and any organization. But beyond that is that even for you as an individual, you want one channel, especially if you have accounts in more than one bank. So instead of logging into one bank, another, you want to do transactions in another bank, you log in there and all of that. You can use Remita as a single multi-bank platform from where you do all your banking transactions, because we're connected to all the banks. So from Remita, you can see your balances across all the banks, for instance. Okay. And then make payments from any of these your banks, and you have comprehensive reports showing all of this traffic.
It's also that our viewers can really understand. Is Remita like, if I want you come to my office or somewhere and bring something like a computer, a laptop, or is it a software or something?
Software, and we work in partnership with the banks. Okay. So if you go to remita.net, for instance, and fill a form, okay, which is sent into your bank, and your banks confirm that the account belongs to you, you're properly set up by your bank on Remita, and thereafter you can begin to transact on Remita. You can transact on Remita from any computer, wherever. You just log into remita.net with access rights that would have been given to you, or you use your mobile phone. Okay. And fortunately, we are also coming up with an app in the next few months. Okay. You have an app where you'll be able to do a lot more from the mobile phone. In fact, we expect that the future is going to be fully on the mobile, phone. So you'll be able to run the business for your organization and for yourself.
Because of this matter, recently Remita has been in the news. As a layman, just as an ordinary citizen, I heard Remita made $25 billion, or is 25 billion naira in a single transaction, and that did not sit well with the government. The new government. How further from the truth is that? Can you shed light on this?
We live in very interesting times, because incidentally, when you even look at the message itself that went out, somebody stood up on the floor of the Senate, and otherwise hallowed chambers, and makes an allegation that one company is making 25 billion naira in one day. A very strong statement that whipped up a lot of sentiments. But when you look at the numbers, the practical issues, with all due respect, just does not add up. Okay. This was the year 2015, when the budget of Nigeria was 4.4 trillion naira. 4.4 trillion naira means an average of about 12 billion naira a day. So if the budget of Nigeria is 25 billion a day, and somebody says one company is making 25 billion a day for doing nothing, something immediately raises a flag that this cannot add up. Okay. Incidentally, as at the time that allegation was made, the total income to system specs for the part preceding almost 1 year was about 3 billion for the preceding 1 year. So when you now come up with an allegation of 25 billion per day, just something is not right. But having said that, I believe there probably wasn't enough information out there. There probably wasn't good enough communication between the different arms and sectors. So maybe that was why those kind of things were able to get into the space. But the truth of it is that we have an agreement with the Central Bank of Nigeria. We've actually been working for like about 4 years before now for the payment leg of the TSA project, and the collection leg was supposed to have started earlier. It hadn't started. We had an agreement that when it starts, there's a 1% fee to be earned by all the partners, which includes system specs, the platform providers, the commercial banks who are involved in the actual physical cash collection, and the central bank who introduced the whole concept. That was the agreement that was signed. There is a 1% charge, 50% to system specs, 50% of the 1% to system specs, the platform providers, 40% to the collecting commercial bank, and 10% to CBN. That was the agreement in place. Now, as at the time that agreement was signed, nobody had a clear understanding of what the scope would be. Okay. So we were signing 1% of X, where X was unknown. And for like 2 years, X was actually near zero. Okay. Because this platform just didn't take off. I mean, the collection scheme was not enforced by government. So the project didn't take off. So effectively, we're earning nothing while waiting and cleaning up and waiting for a day that we knew would come. Eventually, thanks to the new administration came in and saw the benefit of a single account for the country. I mean, going into the merits or demerits of it, it's a topic for another day. But the new administration gave a directive that all accounts should be closed and moved into the single treasury account. Now, that came with a deadline, September 15. That meant a number of government agencies suddenly tried to move their bulk at the same time. It was that bulk move of the closing balances in commercial banks, moving it into the TSA as the starting balances, that created a spike. And that spike was what created what you may call some upheaval. And the Office of the Accountant General had initiated the conversation to renegotiate the figures because this spike was not anticipated. And we had said we're open to renegotiation. We had commenced renegotiation before the Senate angle came in. And when the Senate angle came in, it like took a life of its own and slowed down the conversation with the executive to close what we had already commenced. So that is saying
you are the chief spokesman for System Spec. How would you like to educate the public about the merit or demerits of what the government, more or less cancelling the contract, as it were?
Being categorical might really not be fair to all parties. And the reason being that, like my MD said, to start with, there wasn't sufficient information in the public space. And so a few persons or stakeholders could be excused or say forgiven for taking positions that does not align with our position of fact or our position of the truth. But sticking to the matter, there were definite moments where we felt used and where we felt unappreciated. And to that degree, I would say there were times where we really were not, it was, allow me to use the word, unhappy moments. Those decisions, particularly the later part of last year, sometime in November, December, where we kept going to defend a position that was quite clearly above board, a position that was in alignment with the terms of the contract that we were signed, a position that was under every guise, the meritable position. It was really difficult. So I would say yes, whilst it might be a bit difficult to say we refuse or we reject, or it was painful, it was this, it was that. I would like more to stay with how we felt during that period, because like I said, we had stuck through all of the terms of the contract, and even if the issues were really about the contract, we were not averse to renegotiate and discuss the terms of the contract. But for a unilateral position from a standpoint of strength, being the government against an organization because it's a local or a Nigerian organization, we didn't feel it was a happy moment.
Do you feel your rights have been trampled upon?
Put it this way, in fairness, the Senate did not terminate the contract. They are not in a position to terminate the contract anyway. They recommend it. Okay. And again, if you understand where the Senate was coming from, somebody stood up on the floor of the Senate and raised a lot of noise and created a scene, and the committee was set up to investigate the abuse and mismanagement and some heavy words. So the Senate started off from a position of taking a hard, they had already used some strong words, some assumptions. There has been abuse and mismanagement of the TSA. They took this position without having information. I think that created some challenge, and so by the time the committee started and all the facts started coming out, I want to believe they found it. It became difficult to find a way out. If it had been a proper investigative panel, then they would have been in a position to come to a different conclusion. But because of how they started, they had to look for anything to justify whatever position they started with. That created some challenge. So if you read the report of the Senate, for instance, with all due respect, you acknowledge that work has been done, and then yet a good portion of the report struggled to argue that there was no contract. And then you now say, terminate the contract. Hello, I mean, if you say there was no contract, then there is no contract to terminate. So
what contract on is not on?
Like we said at the beginning of this whole crisis, we understand the fact that the TSA is one of the best things to happen to this country. We also recognize that many people, because they don't understand it, may not be, fully supportive. Some want to just bring it down. Okay. We had invested 3-4 years getting the platform ready. So we were careful that we would not allow anything to disrupt something that we know will add value to this country. So we maintained our calm. Throughout the crisis period, the platform remained in use. Till today, the platform remains in use. What we had said was that we would isolate the commercial. We would not allow the commercial discussion to disrupt the bigger picture. Okay. So the platform is in use, and as tempers cool down, healthy conversations ongoing for a proper resolution. And the Office of the Accountant General, the Ministry of Finance have all been very helpful and in working out the resolution with CBN. So we are expecting very shortly some of the issues will be clearly firmed up. in terms of terminating the contract, that's not practically workable, because this is something that is working, and it's already sort of well integrated into many things. It's not a plug and play that you can just wake up one day and yank out. No, it doesn't work out that way.
Proud as a Nigerian to have developed this software. Other advanced countries like India, we have a lot of software developers, and the USA. Maybe, I mean, looking at you with envy.
Your question, two sides to it. On the one hand, I feel very proud and happy with the team that I've worked with, the organization. A lot of brainstorming and arguments and everything that went in through the years for us to come up with this solution. Many people did not give it a chance to succeed, which was one of the reasons why nobody even paid attention to the 1% or no 1%, because how many projects have faded away in government? Okay, this would just have been another one. Okay, so nobody gave it a chance, but we knew what we were doing, and we remained tenacious, and we thank God it has worked out fine. So to that extent, we became conscious to guide it jealously that when the upheaval started, the easiest thing for us would have been, just yank it up, and that would have, ended up the whole thing. This is not the first time Nigeria was attempting TSA. Okay, why did it not work in earlier times? Because there was no technology to back it up. Okay, now System Specs has provided the technology to back it up. It is working, and the focus is shifted from whether it's working, and then you now reduce it to a discussion on commercials, which is a different topic anyway. So back to your question, I feel very proud that we've been able to accomplish this as a Nigerian company. I feel sad because we believe that the government, the Senate, should have given us more encouragement. Not us as System Specs per se, but that use this as an opportunity to show that you recognize hard work and that it's possible to make money through legitimate means, through intellectual work. Okay. And that not only encourage this in Nigeria, but actually use it as an opportunity to begin to promote Nigeria outside Nigeria. You don't want a situation in which you go to another country and you don't have the support of your country. It's a little more difficult. All the software that you use in Nigeria today that come from other countries, they were supported by their own governments at one point or the other. Is it the Oracle, the Microsoft, or the major names that you want to mention today? They started from somewhere. They were supported by their own governments and pushed into other countries. Now we assume that everybody in the world must use them. So what I would have expected, and what we still look forward to, it's never too late, is our government to support this kind of initiative and begin to promote it to other countries. Let's start with the African countries. The TSA concept, it's not so much that it is new world over, but it is going through a renewal worldwide. And what Remita has done, I dare say, I feel comfortable to be able to compete with any solution from any part of the world to address treasury single accounting projects. So we would expect the support of this government to be able to push this kind of solution into other countries, and ultimately that would help.
Yeah, John, we are looking for an opportunity to sit down with the CBN governor, the members of the finance committee of the Senate, even the finance minister, to talk more about Remita and what support. You mentioned Oracle. Then of course we know about SAP, and these are all foreign platforms. Given an opportunity, or let me put it another way. Assuming the CBN had this contract, this Remita contract, or with say a foreign company like Oracle or SAP, do you think they would have terminated, cancelled, or amended the contract literally? Yeah, just I want in one word, yes or no?
No, but let me just take it further. Incidentally, I was discussing with one of the companies that supplied one of the major solutions to this country, a foreign company, and he had asked me several years ago that why are you doing a pay-as-you-go system with government in Nigeria? That no, what you should do is charge them and collect all your money up front. Okay. And then we laughed over it. Okay. Looking back, I dare say, is it that even from the outside they know us more than I know Nigeria? Okay. But I don't regret the position we took. That look, we're charging on a pay-as-you-use basis. If you had charged some hefty sum, as they would have done, whether the application works or does not work, there's no way you can ask them to come and refund anything. Okay, but I guess as a country we're also going through some learning processes. I don't want to believe that it is all negatively intended by the people who caused all this agitation.
Yeah. John, Remita for now.
Okay.
Okay, right at the background there's Remita. That's your. Do I say this is the logo for Remita?
Sure.
Okay. And for those outside there that do not know Remita very well, this is the man behind Remita, the Mr. John Tandy Obaro. Let's rest Remita for now, and then we'll come back to Remita sometime in the future when we've had the opportunity to speak with the CBN, speak with the finance minister, maybe speak with the head of state to show him, because as you mentioned, countries go out of their way to support their companies. Should be able to support you. Give you even a letter of introduction to maybe minister of whatever in India and so forth. We'll come back to that someday. But let's just talk a little bit about System Spec, which is the mother company. System Spec has been in operation for 24 years now.
Yes, sir.
Do you have how do I put it, layman's word? Are you a computer, do you have a computer background?
I studied computer science.
Oh, computer science.
Okay.
Okay, tell us more about what does System Spec do other than Remita?
Now, we started out by supporting an accounting software, which was a foreign software called Sun Systems. And Sun Systems initially was a UK product, but it's been bought over by a US firm called Info. Now, Info is the third largest ERP platform provider worldwide. So we represent them in Nigeria. Now, when we started implementing these products for different organizations, especially multinationals, we then started thinking of doing something ourselves in Nigeria. So we started out developing a payroll application, which arguably is the most successful payroll application and human resource application in the country today. That's Human Manager. So Human Manager helps in preparing salaries, keeping all the necessary staff information, recruitment, performance appraisals, training, and all sorts of things. So that was our flagship product until we came into the payment space, and we've been very excited about Remita. So today we actually have some portion of Human Manager in Remita. Okay. So we've tried to create a complete solution within ERP on a pay-as-you-go basis. So while traditionally Human Manager is a licensed software where you pay upfront to get the application installed in your premises, the Remita is more of a pay-as-you-go platform. You can use it for your payroll preparation for organizations, use it for your payroll preparation to pay the taxes and what have you, pension to the different bodies, and then beyond making payments, you collect funds.
Lanre, as let me say, the mouthpiece of System Spec, What would you like to tell our viewers about what their company does, the contribution they are making to the larger society?
The difference in what we do is we're getting people, organizations, largely to think differently about their operations. In the past, before now, the tide of technology was not very much on our side, and so a lot of organizations needed to do what they need to do manually. Okay, what technology has been able to do is to bring a lot of innovation and automation to business processes, and because first and foremost we're a technology company, we are just at the core of that bend, meaning that we're getting organizations to think differently about how they manage their most valuable resources, which is people, how they manage their cash resources, how they automate their accounting, and how they're able to grow their businesses to the extent where they become world class and they become profitable. So I think that is the biggest contribution. But beyond that, much of what we sell now, or beyond the product itself, is the convenience and the ease of our solution. So while it is possible for you to get similar offerings elsewhere, you will not be able to get the same level of comfort that our product will give you, our solutions will give you. For example, it spoke some bit about Remita and the fact that Remita is connected with all the banks. Now, the reality of many Nigerian individuals and organizations is we operate multiple bank accounts. Okay, and before now, what you would have needed to do as an individual organization is to log into different internet banking portals to be able to do your transaction. Now you're able to do that with ease on just one dashboard. So beyond the innovation and the difference in thoughts that we're making in the marketplace, I believe the ease and convenience of our solution is the biggest difference. Is the biggest difference we're making, is the biggest difference we're selling.
Yeah. As Nigeria, as the developing countries, just starting to understand the whole import of technology, I think you have barely scratched the surface of the opportunities here. Let me now come to the question, just to summarize what we've been discussing. There's a lot of talk about unemployment, youth unemployment. If you were to advise the youth on entrepreneurship at this moment in time in our development, what would you say?
It takes me back to the question that came up on the floor. They said, one company is making 25 billion. Okay. Let's even assume it is true. Let's even assume it is true that it is possible for an organization to make 25 billion a day. Now, how should we respond as a country? Okay. Is it to kill the company making that kind of money, or to say, wow, how did you do it? How can we replicate more of your time? Okay. And that, like you said, we're just scratching the surface. There's a lot of legitimate money that can be made, through intellectual throughput. Okay. And what we need to do is to encourage our younger ones to look in that direction. I see the new administration trying to create employment. There's a lot of focus on agriculture. There's a lot of focus on solid minerals. They're good. But with all due respect, the world is moving away from physical labor to intellectual throughput. Okay. Somebody sits down in his office, is able to think out solutions and come up with more efficient ways of doing things. And we have loads of opportunities, different areas where we can encourage our youths to come up with. Take an app. If you develop an app today, your market is not just Nigeria, the whole world. So long the app, is doing one little thing and doing it well, you open to the whole world. And there are lots of things that can be done. So we need to encourage our youths to begin to think of developing, say, apps. Okay. You are creating employment. More importantly, you are creating far more money to come into the economy. It's not just by tilling the ground continuously for hours. That's not the only way to work hard.
Yeah.
Brain work
Yes,
is
John.
more efficient.
Yes. We cannot go back to rediscover the wheel. If you say, well, there's nothing wrong with doing agriculture, but you can do agriculture in a more efficient way by coming up with more high-yielding varieties of goods and so on and so forth, rather than just So, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, John, and I want to ask upfront that I would appreciate another opportunity for us to speak again on more on entrepreneurship and how the youth could make use of their intellectual property. We talk about developing website. We talk about, in fact, the web app since Apple opened Apple App Store. I can't remember the year, but Apple App Store is one of the biggest spinners of money for Apple right now. And really looking forward to meeting you once again in the nearest future. John, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Paul.
It
It will be nice talking to you.
Yes, thanks.
Have a good
And Larry, it's been a pleasure speaking with you too. Yes.